investigation, solving mysteries in the night. Chasing shadows, finding answers, shining bright light. No one's left behind in the darkness, all alone. With a heart like a siren, she brings the lost ones home. Silent cries in the dark no longer have to be. For justice wheels keep turning, Granny on the beat. Broken voices find their power, call out hope again. With Granny's crime busters ride, no victims left in vain. Bravery in her veins, truth she won't disguise. With a fire in her eyes, she's got nothing to deny. Granny fights for justice, never backs down from the call. For the voices and the missing, she'll stand tall. In a world full of shadows, she fights the unseen. A guardian of the truth in this wicked dream. Every story told brings her back to life. Granny's on the case, cutting through the lies. She guards the broken-hearted from the world that hides. With unwavering spirit, she wears no disguise. Searching for the lost pieces of a shattered life. Granny brings the dawn after a longest night. Whoa.
Hello, everyone. Come on in. Welcome. Take a seat. We're going to get started right away. Today, I wanted to go over the Antioch High School Tragedy. Guys, it breaks my heart when children commit crimes against other children. It's horrible. It should not be happening, right? And I found a few different videos, all just short videos, but kind of brings it all together, okay? And so I just want to get started. I will stop the videos in between a little bit to discuss it, but they pretty much speak for themselves, and I just want to share those with you. And before we go too far, I do want to put up a warning. It's sensitive material, right? So there's nothing actually shown. It's more of what you hear that's, the worst.
Video verified by CNN shows the moments a shooting took place at Antioch High School in Nashville, Tennessee. A 17-year-old male student armed with a pistol opened fire in the school cafeteria at 11:09 a.m., a police spokesperson said. One female student was killed and another student suffered a graze wound to the arm. A third student sustained a facial injury but was not shot. The shooter killed himself, the spokesperson said. The school, which has approximately 2,000 students, went into lockdown and multiple law enforcement agencies responded to the scene. This incident comes less than 2 years after another deadly school shooting at Nashville's Covenant School nearby.
So the classroom that I was in, like it's right by the cafeteria. So we had thought people were like fighting. So people from my classroom, they were going outside and we seen people screaming, running, like we could hear it.
Jocelyn Dayana Correa Escalante always knew how much she was loved.
Todos los días yo le decía a mi hija, la quiero mucho.
That's her dad, Germán Correa, saying in Spanish that every day he reminded her of that special bond. But now, Daddy's little girl is gone.
No es justo eso.
It's not fair, says Germán. Jocelyn was shot and killed while in her high school cafeteria on Wednesday. The family left devastated and in disbelief.
Ay, Dios, es mi niña.
Oh God, she was my girl, says her aunt Maria Correa as she cries. She continues to describe Jocelyn as a kind and calm teenager. She loved soccer and brought home good grades. But above everything, she loved Germán and her family just as much as they loved her.
He was a monster, just killing people.
Absolute heartbreak at Antioch High School. Metro Police say that 17-year-old Solomon Henderson arrived with a plan.
This individual arrived at school on a bus and was actively a student in the school, went into the restroom, I guess, to retrieve his weapon, and then went into the cafeteria.
According to police, Henderson fired several shots from a pistol, and those bullets hit 2 students. 16-year-old Jocelyn Correa Escalante died in the gunfire.
Firing multiple rounds in the cafeteria, striking her, and then before pulling the weapon on himself.
First responders rushing into the school, helping the wounded, and the SWAT team making sure that there were no other shooters. 2 other students were also taken to the hospital.
We did do 4 transports, all of them going to Vanderbilt. Then other assessments were done, of course, with student and staff when it was needed.
The impact going beyond those inside the cafeteria when the gunfire erupted, the violence impacting an entire community.
The level of first response here once again highlights how important our community of collaboration is.
These are city leaders, grief counselors, and students all attempting to heal after a horrific shooting at Antioch High School.
I witnessed it all.
A shooting 18-year-old Candace Huff says she'll never forget.
Saw the guy shoot himself, saw him on the ground. I was in the line stuck with my friend.
Police say a 17-year-old Antioch High School student shot 2 other students Wednesday morning in the school cafeteria and then shot himself.
It was insane. It was crazy. I'm lost for words.
A nightmare, Huff says she just can't seem.
You can see it in her eyes, couldn't you? That she's haunted by what she saw. Even the perpetrator taking his own life, right? Our children should not have to see this, guys. Our children should not have to experience this or to live with it after the fact.
To wake up from.
Right now, it's eating me up on the inside, and I can't close my eyes without seeing him laying on the floor.
So she came to a healing vigil at Hamilton United Methodist Church to not only hear from Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell.
In this space, my hope is that being together, moving into tomorrow together, resolve to do better together, I hope it helps just a little bit.
Council member Delisha Porterfield.
We're hurting, and it's okay to acknowledge that hurt, but we are strong, and we're going to continue to work together.
And Council member Deontay Harrell.
This should not be something that we have to worry about.
She also came for counseling.
I thought I would go throughout high school, not seeing a shooting, let alone witness someone dying. And the way the guy looked at us before shooting himself, it was crazy because I didn't know if we were next or if, I don't know, I just didn't know.
Police say they've identified the shooter in a deadly school shooting in Tennessee. 17-year-old Solomon Henderson is accused of opening fire in the cafeteria of a Nashville high school yesterday. He shot and killed 16-year-old Jocelyn Escalante and wounded another student before he turned the gun on himself. Fearing for their lives, students barricaded themselves in classrooms.
We was all running inside, tried to help people who was falling on the ground.
We had the method where you put a chair inside the door where you lock it down.
The worst fears for a parent, period, worrying if their kid is alive or, dead.
Overnight, police searched the home of the shooter, and so far there's no word on what a motive might have been.
What we know thus far is that we had a male student that was 17 years old that rode the bus this morning to Antioch High School. During the course of the morning, this individual made his way to the cafeteria where he then confronted a 16-year-old that we identified as a female Hispanic student, fired, striking her. She is deceased. There is another male 17-year-old young man that was wounded with a graze wound, and he has been treated at Vanderbilt and released. The shooter was 17 years old. He entered into the cafeteria, firing multiple rounds in the cafeteria, striking her, and then before pulling the weapon on himself. From that point, at 11:11, we started receiving calls for service. Officers responded and found the male shooter deceased in the cafeteria. We've been working with our state and federal partners on the identification and notifications of all. From that point, our SWAT team began systematic searches throughout the entire school to make sure there weren't any more victims or shooters within the school. We did not find any more. Since that time, we have started a family assistance center where we've worked very closely with Metro Schools. The Family Safety Center is right behind us at the Ascension Medical Center. We are systematically releasing young students to that location to be connected back with their parents. We've done that systematically so we wouldn't overload the parents or the school system so that we could get everyone back connected.
So you can see that I just kind of wanted to give you an overview of what happened. I'm not spending a lot of time on the perpetrator. I'm not, Jocelyn is what matters, guys. She is what matters. Right there. Beautiful young girl, 16 years old, whose life was tragically taken. Right? So wrong. So wrong, guys. She's what matters. Jocelyn is what matters. So I have another few videos that I'm going to be showing you to kind of help us understand a little bit more about what is going on. Were there security systems in place? I noticed that the kids said that they were putting chairs underneath, the doors to try and block this person from getting in. And I know from other school tragedy situations, doors automatically locked, right? So, why do not all schools have the same security measures is what I'd like to know, right? Every new technology should be provided to the schools for our children. Okay? That's just my thought. Parents pay taxes every year, and schools get over $1,000 per student. And yes, I know they have to pay their teachers and supplies and all that other stuff. Well, if there's no money left over, then I don't know, the state, the federal government has to help, guys. Something has to be done to protect the safety of our children. Okay. So the next one talks about the technology. Okay.
Mourn the loss of Jocelyn Correa Escalante, a 16-year-old high school student who died in a shooting at Antioch High School Wednesday. The shooter, a 17-year-old fellow student, died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Now, the school district uses an AI-powered gun detection system, but police say the weapon wasn't visible to cameras and was not detected. The system, called OmniAlert Gun Detect, is deployed in Metro Nashville public schools. While it didn't detect the shooter's weapon, the school district tells our sister station in Nashville an alarm trigger was activated when law enforcement and school resource officers arrived with their weapons. We've reported on the Schenectady City School District's recent rollout of AI-powered weapon screening systems, but we want to be clear that they use a completely different company. Earlier this month, we spoke with the head of the National Association of School Resource Officers about the possible risks of relying too heavily on tech.
If we're using this when we've got 2,000 students, coming into the building in the morning, we've got to make sure that we've got our head on a swivel and that we're paying attention. There has to be a human aspect to this. And so we certainly don't need to be, from a security standpoint, putting something in place and thinking that solves our problem.
I agree with them. If you have that and it's probably on camera, then there should be eyes on that technology every minute that those children are walking in and out the doors, right? Or wherever this technology is. I'm assuming the doors when the kids are walking in, but I don't know.
The CEO of OmniAlert, the company used by Antioch High School in Nashville, wouldn't tell us if any schools in New York use the same system, saying most customers don't want that information disclosed, but said in the case of the Antioch High School shooting that, quote, the location of the shooter and the firearm meant that the weapon was not visible. This is not a case of the firearm not being recognized by the system, end quote. CBS.
Okay, so did the perpetrator know that? Did he know where he could go so that WEAPON was not visible? Did he know that? Was that common knowledge in that school? Guys, 2,000 children were in that school. I mean, it is incredible that only 3 were injured, 2 fatally. But why? It breaks my heart to think that kids are going to school afraid every day. Children should not have to be afraid. They should not have to be afraid to walk into their school.
Yeah, 6 is still working to find out if the OmniAlert gun detect system is in place at any school districts in New York State.
I don't know why they're talking about New York State unless this was a New York website, but okay, this is the next one. It talks about how Antioch High School has added new security measures as the students return back to school.
Antioch High School students are going back to the classroom in just a little bit this morning, 6 days after that tragedy at their school.
A student shooting and killing a 16-year-old girl and then himself. Peyton Kennedy is joining us live now at Antioch High School and shares what security changes are in place for the return.
And yes, students will be back in the classroom today, but we're told this is not going to look like a normal day of instruction. They're going to be focused on the emotional well-being of students with grief counseling, mental health resources, and community building activities. They're also not going to be eating lunch in the cafeteria. That is where the shooting took place, and we're told that they're focused on reimagining that space. MMPS says the Metro Nashville Police Department will provide additional police resources to Antioch High School and the district, including a third school resource officer. We're also seeing blue lights around the building this morning, a clear increase in police presence. Antioch High will also pilot a new EVA.
Here's my question. Okay, so they got these in there, right? Okay, so I just see maybe this is the guy right here that is watching for those lights. I was going to say, this must be one too. Okay. Because my thought was, don't they have to have eyes? I mean, yes, there's probably cameras, but don't they have to have eyes to make sure that when something turns red, they can stop that person? Right? But I do see it now. They do have people standing there, so.
Weapon detection system. It's on temporary loan to the school. And we're told this is AI technology that's used by other schools and major venues, including Nissan Stadium. It causes minimal disruption. In the days following the school shooting, we have heard from community members asking for metal detectors to be added throughout the district. Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell says he supports the decision of the director of schools and the MMPD on what they feel is the best next move.
If they determine that metal detectors are an appropriate next step to take here, we will make sure we're in a position to support that from a budgetary standpoint. But I'm also going to be driven here by what is the most effective measure for keeping students safe at schools. And I appreciate that Dr. Battle and Chief Drake continue to closely collaborate on exactly that.
And class does start in about an hour at 7 a.m. MMPS does say that if students do not feel comfortable returning just yet, if they have a parent's permission, they will work to excuse that absence and continue to provide that emotional support as well. Live in Antioch, Peyton Kennedy, News 2.
Antioch High School students are.
So 6 days. That is kind of tough, right? I mean, I understand they don't want school to last too long. They'll have to extend it at the end, right? But is 6 days enough for that girl that we saw who actually looked in the eyes of the perpetrator, the person who did this, and didn't know if they were next, but then watched him take his own life? I mean, is that enough? Is that enough time, guys? Let's hear from a teacher.
And I think the thing that sticks with me most is they train you for the lockdown. They do not train you for what comes after.
Aaron Rodriguez is a history teacher at Antioch High School. He says January 22nd, 2025 is a day in his teaching career he'll never forget.
The shooting happened on Wednesday. This is less than a week that we're asking these children to come back into this school where, you know, sadly for some of them, this might be the most tragic event they ever experienced in their life.
On that tragic day, a 17-year-old boy came to school with a loaded gun and started shooting inside the cafeteria. Police say he killed one and injured another before turning the gun on himself. Aaron says when tactical officers shot the locks off of classroom doors, he will never forget the looks on his students' faces.
Hearing those bangs, every kid's eyes locked with mine. And that is the image that sticks with me because, you know, I got a lot of teenage boys and they're athletes. They try to put on a brave face. They've got that teenage machismo. But the second I saw their eyes, that was somebody's baby.
Aaron and his colleagues returned to work on Monday. They used this time to prepare for the rest of the week, but Aaron says many of them weren't ready to return.
If adults are having a difficult time dealing with that, I can't imagine what it's going to be like for a child to do that, or quite frankly, for parents to send them back to that school.
Aaron commends the district for providing counseling resources, a third school resource officer, and implementing the weapon detection system. However, he said they need more time to heal and process all that happened.
Quite frankly,
So there were 2 school resource officers at the time that this happened for 2,000 students. That's 1,000 students per officer. Now there's 3. Is that enough, guys? Is that enough? 3 resource officers for 2,000 students.
a single day isn't enough for the teachers to learn those protocols. A single day isn't enough for us to understand what the new security measures are, or to understand the new lunch protocols while they make sure that the cafeteria is being, redone.
Aaron says if there's a reason to return so soon, he's pleading with MNPS to share the information. If not, he says there's no harm in waiting and giving the students a chance to grieve, mourn, and soon heal. In Antioch, Kelsey Gibbs, News Channel 5.
Interesting, right? So now we're going to kind of switch over to we've seen what happened. We've seen the impact on the students, the community. We've seen the new security measures that have been put into place and how they've kind of pushed these kids to go back to school, even though they didn't say where these kids are eating. So I don't know what they've got going there, right? Because they're refurbishing the cafeteria, which should be done, right? But I mean, the kids that probably walk by there, that one student said that their class was right across from the cafeteria. So they still have to go to that class, which is right by where it happened. I mean, I can't even imagine, guys. But now we're going to switch over into why did this person do this? And again, I'm not using his name. You'll hear it on here. I refuse to use his name. I'm not going to give him any credit for what he's done. Instead, my focus is always on the victim, Jocelyn. Right? Beautiful young girl. 16 years old, whose life was tragically taken. Okay? So, let's go to the manifesto.
Night. Who, if anyone, knew about Henderson's plan? The manifesto does mention someone helping him write part of it. And Jared Holt, you just saw there, says extremists in online communities identified him as the shooter before police did. Again, as we've mentioned, the teen shooter left behind a lengthy diary, giving even more insight into his thoughts leading up to the shooting. Now, News Channel 5 investigative reporter Levi Ismail went through page by page and tells us what he found.
It's the first 4 words of a more than 288-page diary, but it sets the tone for everything you read after. Those words, quote, "I'm burning with hate." From October of last year to the day he carried out his attack at Antioch High School, 17-year-old Solomon Henderson filled these pages with graphic images, Nazi symbols, and plans to carry out an attack. Henderson obsessed over mass killers around the world and declared that he too intends on doing something to kill at least 10 people. But how does this young man go from active high school student to active shooter?
If we just look at it broadly, a lot of people that have carried out these sort of acts have felt othered.
Lauren Ruth Martin is a licensed therapist with Novel Counseling in Franklin.
we could go, scientifically for a minute. Our brains aren't fully developed when we're 17. Our brains are actually on fire. And so not a lot makes sense, and decision making is altered.
Martin says this is not.
Okay. I understand that. At 17, yeah, your decision making. I like what she said about it being on fire, right? And when she was talking about that, it reminded me of another case that we'd been talking about recently, where a young 16-year-old boy had brutally red-rummed a little 5-year-old girl and also AR'd her brutally, and was convicted and sent to prison for life without the possibility of parole at the age of, I think he might have been 17 when he was convicted, right? In 2016, a law came out about this very thing, about how teenagers don't think the same way, right? And that teenagers that have been sentenced before 2016 for life without the possibility of parole needed to be re-looked at. And so as a result, this family had to go through it all over again, like another trial. But this person, this man, who was now well older, because this happened in 1994 and 2016, I mean, he was quite a bit older, right? He was middle-aged. The judge said, no, I'm resentencing you to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But now he's appealing, right? And he can appeal as many times as he wants if he keeps losing, right? So my thought, I get what they're saying. However, when someone, it's one thing if they go and rob without harming anybody, right? If it's robbery, burglary, that kind of thing. But I guess then they're not going to be sentenced to prison life without possibility of parole. I don't know, guys. But there's things that they can do in prison, right? I have a hard time releasing anyone that has committed red rum. I just do. I can't, and I mean, this young man took his own life, so we don't have to worry about that. But there are other school perpetrators, that have done the same thing but didn't take their lives, and they're sitting in prison, right? So, as thinking from, if it was my child, thinking from that standpoint, I would never want that person to be released, would you? Right? Let's continue.
Not about trying to humanize someone responsible for committing a horrible crime, but understanding how we got here. Henderson, by his own admission, fought with his parents and even wrote in his diary about killing them at one point. Struggles with his self-image and resentment over minorities were only amplified once Henderson found community and a sense of belonging with white supremacy groups online.
It's a perfect storm. In online communities, you can also access those in a private way. You get to be the person that you want to project out there, online without anybody truly questioning it.
Henderson often wrote things like, quote, "I wish I was white. Self-hating N-word award goes to," with a picture of his eyes.
If we just focus on that idea of being uncomfortable in your own skin, can you imagine how helpless that must feel? Because you literally can't change that.
Another photo appeared to show Henderson in whiteface, but all while this self-hatred is happening, Henderson continues to plan out his attack. He details instructions on how to make bombs and even bought supplies. He then wrote that it made sense to attack during lunch and specifically made note of days when he expected there to be more people of color around. Just days before the shooting, Henderson began to spiral. He wrote, "I'm slipping," and talked about being nervous, scared, and excited at the same time. Henderson posted a final selfie with the caption, "4 hours to go."
I think it's scary for us to acknowledge that given the perfect storm of circumstances, we don't know what we would resort to if we were in that much.
I will say this, guys. I do think that's really, really sad that a young man could look at his own face and think he's ugly because of his skin color. This is 2025, guys. That should not be happening. That should not be happening. And I can't even imagine, girls go through something similar. Their body shape isn't what they think it should be. As a young girl in school, and I don't know if any of my peers ever watch my shows, but I am going to say this. I am going to say this because it's so wrong. For those of you, I was flat-chested. I'm just going to say that. Okay? For those of you out there who called me or anyone else fried eggs when we had to go to gym and we had to shower, you're a bully and you're mean. I'm serious, guys. So this is 2025. For a child to feel that his skin is the wrong color should not be happening. Right? Should not be happening. The Lord created all of us.
Pain, and we had access to such things like guns.
Martin says while there are many nuances on how Henderson became radicalized enough to kill, this is a man who found connection in hate, and that should never be ignored.
We're not humanizing him, but what we're using is this information to better inform how we can see people, how we can help people, how we can make our communities safer.
With News Channel 5 Investigates, I'm Levi Ismail.
Thanks, Levi. So sad and disturbing. Levi also found that at one point, Henderson wrote that police were at his home, found a gun, one he says his dad took the blame for. It's not clear when or if this happened, but we do know Metro Nashville police are investigating the writings and others to learn what they can about the shooter and his motivations. Now, also tonight, we have learned the shooter did live stream the attack using the site Kick. Platform leaders confirmed this and say violence has no place on their platform. They add Henderson's account was banned, the video removed, and they are actively working with law enforcement to help them with their investigation.
Wow. I did not know that, guys. That is so sad that he videoed the attack. That's awful. That is awful. Well, there's one last video that I want to show you. It's 3 minutes. And it's what's happening in Tennessee. Because we all know, that any of us who are following the Sebastian Rogers case, we all know that there is a lot that's wrong in Tennessee, right? So I want you to watch this video to see what's exactly going on in Tennessee. I don't know what the answer is, guys. I know we can pray, right? I know we can pray, but, well, watch for yourself. Here we go.
I'm curious, why Nashville? Why did you guys choose Nashville?
From groups like the neo-Nazi Goyim Defense League, who brought chaos to the streets of Nashville last summer, to the notorious Blood Tribe that paraded down our streets, these have been the faces of hate confronting our state and our community. Now we're seeing the young men radicalized by that hate. The shooter at Nashville's Antioch High School, 17-year-old Solomon Henderson, left behind a manifesto making it clear that he had come to hate Jews, immigrants, even his own race. Here, Henderson posed in a t-shirt for a neo-Nazi badge, and here he displayed an image of Adolf Hitler. The first entry in his diary included a photo of notorious Columbine killer Eric Harris with the caption, "I'm burning with hate. Hate will change the world."
That Columbine person has been, I mean, think about it, guys. How many school perpetrators have gone back to Columbine, have related back to Columbine? Dylan Harris and Eric Klebold, right? They're making them infamous, and that's wrong on so many levels. I don't know what needs to happen to stop this, guys. Tell me in the comments what your thoughts are.
284 pages later in the same diary, one of his last entries linked to an obscure website that reported the arrest of another Tennessee teen who also dreamed of mass murder. Buried in court files at the U.S. District Court in Nashville, the story of 18-year-old gunner Joseph Fisher is just as haunting. Tipped off by Meta that someone on Instagram was sending messages that he was planning to conduct a mass shooting, the FBI found chats between Fisher and another person from out of state who was also talking of mass murder. According to a criminal complaint on June 16th, Gunner Fisher confided he was gonna go on a spree this year, that I think I will just snap and I'm like a bomb. I've always wanted to do this, he wrote. When I was an effing child, before I even got into school, I saw crowds and fantasized about someone mowing them down. He felt he was bound to murder. When FBI agents eventually searched Fisher's phone, they found a video in which he declared Jews are the root of all evil, and sand N-words are their little minions, and I, Gunner Joseph Fisher, am going to take care of them both. He added, "Let's get this party started." According to the FBI, Fisher initially plotted a Columbine-style attack at his school, hoping to plant bombs, then using his guns to mow down anyone who escaped. Fisher wrote in his manifesto, "My bombs are actually going to work. My entire school is going to be wiped off the face of this earth. It's going to be awesome." His message for the black students there, outrun my effing guns. The FBI says Fisher also considered attacking a furry convention where young people dress as animals. Finally, he declared, "I changed to a mosque like Brenton," a reference to the mass murderer who slaughtered 51 innocent Muslims in Christchurch, New Zealand in 2019. Fisher had just announced that 2025 would be the year he would strike, a plan that was fortunately thwarted by the FBI. Phil Williams, News Channel 5 Investigates.
The plan was thwarted by the FBI, guys. Thank the Lord for that, right? Thank the Lord for that. So that was another Tennessee youth who was plotting another mass tragedy. You know, what is the answer? When is this going to stop? You know, I know some people will say gun control. I know this isn't going to be a popular thing, guys, but I am going to say this. Mental health. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. Now, I will say this. I don't believe that anyone, anywhere, except for the military, should have assault weapons. That's my opinion. They should not be for sale. Things to make other pew-pews into assault weapons should not be available, should not be sold, right? That's my opinion. Because that's what most of these people are using to do mass tragedies, to perform mass tragedies. Now, the perpetrator at Antioch High School did not use an assault weapon, right? Either way, he used it in an assault, right? It's just not, the odds of doing a mass tragedy with just a regular hand pew pew. I hate these words, guys, and I have to use them because YouTube does not like the other words. But I'm just saying, the odds of doing a mass with just a hand one is, they're probably going to get caught before they can do a mass tragedy. But it grieves my heart. Our children should not have to go to school scared. Right? It grieves my heart that children are so mentally ill and so full of hate that they would carry out these crimes. What's the answer? Mental health for sure, right? I think that's the biggest thing, right? Mental health. Providing more security at our schools. I think that's important. But it's not going to change overnight now, guys. It's already started. It's out there. I think that parents need to be more aware of what their children are doing and what they're doing online. And yes, I know that kids can bypass it, but I mean, there are things that you can put on your computers that can show where they've been. Right? I mean, there are things that we can do, people. But everyone needs to work together, right? But it does fall back on the parents. Mental health. If your child is showing hatred, get them some help. Get them some help. If there's something wrong, something that's not right, you need to get them some help. Keep weapons away from your children. Lock them up. Don't buy them a weapon. And I know that's not going to be popular in the hunting realm, right? Well, you know what? Until they're 18, they can, if they're going hunting with you, they can borrow one of yours. Okay? They don't need to have their own. They don't. And everything should be locked up, and the child should not know how to get into that locked cabinet or room or whatever it may be. It's my opinion. I'm going to leave us tonight or today. It's not tonight. With My grannyism for today. Crimes against children are the most heinous crime. That, for me, would be a reason for capital punishment because children are innocent and need the guidance of an adult society. Clint Eastwood said that. And I agree with him 100%. It doesn't matter who does the crime against our children. If it's another child, capital punishment is what needs to continue to happen. My opinion. Please, guys, if you disagree with me, that's fine. You can tell me in the comments. I don't have a problem with that. All I ask is that you don't show hate. Be respectful. Okay? If you show hate in my comments, you'll be removed. It'll be removed and you'll be banned from my channel. I just do not tolerate that here, okay? But I don't have a problem with anyone disagreeing with my thoughts. As long as you're respectful. We can agree to disagree, right? All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at grannyscrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.